Hi, Madness Society. It is your host with the most, Shadowlog, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It is free. That's how you help my channel get into the algorithm. I'd highly appreciate it if you'll go ahead and do that, It don't cost a damn thing. You'll help me, help. Now, what I want to talk about was something that I was asked by one of my subscribers on my other channel, Alex Jones' mom. He asked if I could talk about white privilege, right? My thoughts on white privilege, actually. Now, before I get into it, if you do hear something that you don't like, wait till the end of the video before you want to come in the comments, because there's sometimes I get people that, go in defensive mode on the comments and ask things or say you forgot about this and that. When I actually talk about it in the video, they just didn't watch. They only watched it to the point where they heard that they don't like something, and then, it's like, no, I answered that question, but you just had to hear it. Especially when we're talking about sensitive subjects like this and stuff like that, in order for you to understand, it must be explained a certain way. You can't explain something, as important or something that, is so big in, a short amount of time. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is, I know people's attention spans have been cut down because, how society has painted it now, short in videos, short in songs and stuff like that. It's not good, to feed those behaviors. Because, you don't get your messages across, like that. You get what I'm saying? Especially when, you're missing a lot of important details, and that people just, want to shortcut through. That's why it's never good to take a shortcut. I don't know if they told you that in life. Now, does white privilege exist? It does exist, but to a certain extent, right? Because here's one thing I'm going to say. Even though us minorities have it more difficult here in America, when it comes to, Caucasians, Anglo-Saxons, they have battles too. To them, it's not all peaches and cream. You know that they suffer a lot of racism too, Caucasians, They are also on the other end of, racism, right? They are also discriminated against, in a different way, right? Although, we have it, difficult, they also have their battles that they have to go through, right? And they also have their struggles, and it's not all peaches and cream for them too. And I think why I'm able to see it through so many different, aspects when it comes to this is that I grew up, in my neighborhood, right? But in my neighborhood, we have homies that are from my neighborhood who are white and black, and Asian. And, these were my doggy dogs, right? So I think growing up with these individuals, and, going and seeing what they've gone through and lived through, I'm able to understand, when we're talking about these subjects, I'm able to understand it maybe a little bit better than others, right? Because I had a homie from my neighborhood, right, who was white, full-blown white, not half Mexican, full-blown, both parents were white, his whole family was white, but he grew up in our neighborhood, his, family were alcoholics and, drug addicts, so, and then he also was, raised in the foster system too, you know what I mean? Because, child services would come and because it was all hectic, right? So homie had it bad, right? And that was one of my doggy dogs growing up, right? So I understood his whole, battles and, planking and all of that, right? He didn't have it easy. He had it just as rough as me and any of the other homies right down the block. Here's the difference though, right? There would be times when we'll be chilling in the neighborhood, right? We'll be kicking it. And the cops would pass by, right? And we're like, oh shit, here comes the cops. We would hand the illegal stuff to the homie, right? Because we already knew that the cops wouldn't harass homie from prior incidents that would be there. They would search us and they would just tell him to get out of there, to go home or whatever. And sure enough, homie, had the heater and, some illegal, substance or whatever. They told him to bounce and they told us to get against the wall and searched us and everything. But, homie dipped. You know what I mean? They didn't even bother to, hey, come here, why you hanging them? They just let the homie go, bro. And it happened a lot of times, even in schools, when, shit was going down in school, we'll pass homie the things and, and he was the one that wouldn't get, searched and pressed and all of that. See, he understood. He knew what was up. He knew that he had it just as bad as me and the homies and stuff like that, right? And all of that. But he knew that even though he has it rough, just like, we have it rough and growing up in our environment, that the world still seen him, even though he was coming out of the same pot, that he still got that little bit extra of the benefit of the doubt and stuff like that compared to us, right? And same with the homie that was black. He got it a little bit more rougher than the rest of us, right? Understanding, the whole dynamics behind this. As kids, we're growing up, we're seeing this, right? We're not watching the news or digging into politics. We're living and realizing this through actual events that are occurring, that are happening, right? This is not stuff that I'm reading off of an article or the news, or this is shit that we experience and seen with our own eyes, bro. So nobody could tell me a damn thing, bro. You get what I'm saying? So when people are out here, pushing these issues or talking about this and that, they're talking from personal experiences. That's why they stand firm in what they're speaking, because they have witnessed and been through this. Yet society, since they don't see these battles, especially where they're coming from, right? They don't see these things occurring, so they think that this is all a lie, that it's make believe, right? Same reason why I said, if you look at all these places that are always pushing for immigration bills and tougher border patrols and border laws and stuff like that, it's always the states in which they hardly have any illegals in it. You would figure it would be places like New York, California, Chicago that are pushing for this, right? But it's always the places that hardly have any raza in them. Yeah, they're the ones always out there. Because what do they know about Mexicans? Because they don't have Mexicans, or let's say Latinos, living around them, right? So they could only go based off what they see on the news, TV shows, movies, radio, and all of that, right? And what do they show us as? Always the gang members, cartel guys, or hitmen. What does the news cover? DUIs, murders, assaults, robberies. They don't talk about the stuff, the raza that has came here and built businesses and have done their part, for society, or people that have gone to college and graduated and got their, scholarships in it. They don't cover none of that. No, the news covers all the negative. They don't cover none of the positive. So these people the only idea they have of us, right? Because it's not like, oh, no, all these shows are lies, because I work with Jose at my job, and he's the complete opposite. So since they don't interact with actual raza, they could only go based off what they see on TV shows, movies, radios, and all of this shit. And, of course, we're always painted as the drug dealers, bad guys, criminals, gangsters, and all that, right? So this is the only idea that they have, right? So this is what they're basing their arguments of us, right? Based off of this, right? Not real actual events and interactions, which is, pretty, dumb to do, right? But hey, that's society. So same right here, these people say that it doesn't exist because they don't see it around them. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Now, at the same time, just because they're white doesn't mean that when you're like, what do you know about the struggle? What do you know about struggling? You never had a struggle day in your life. Whoa, hold on there. Hold your horses. That's not what I'm saying either. Do you know that guy's life? Have you lived in his life? Were you living in his household? You don't know what that man has gone through. Because Caucasians have had battles too. They struggle with the same problems that any other body, drug abuse or, family, differences or alcoholism, or brought up in the foster home systems and all of that, bro. So molestations and they have gone through battles too, bro. So and I should know because like I said, I have some homies that are from my neighborhood that are white. So you know what I mean. So you can't say that these people are lying or they can't speak because they don't know what the struggle is. Nah. Hold your horses there, Mr. High and Mighty. You know what I mean? But that's the thing, though. People want to assume that they know, like, same with on this end, like, oh, you guys don't even have it that bad. Like, how bad do you guys have it? Like, nah, you don't know that either to be saying that shit either, bro. If you really don't know, then you can't say, what you're saying. But white privilege, does exist to that extent, right? Even though we all came from the gutter and had our battles, he had it. Him in society's eyes was, viewed a little bit more, how can I say, responsible or good or whatever, going based off of the color of his skin. You know what I'm saying? And because society has painted it like that, right? If a crime occurs, they're gonna most likely think it's the minorities before they think it's the Caucasians. Mm-hmm. When, and it's funny because it goes to, one of the things that, because it has been proven, right? Evidence, right? You know, when they get to the breakdown of law enforcement tactics, yes, they say they target, you know, they target the minorities areas more than they do the Caucasians, that they do tend to look for minorities more than they do tend to look at these individuals. You know, they has been proven facts, bro, that they have, you know, have been, you know, shown that they do that, you know. And people can't say that that's a lie because it's already been put out. There's already been exposed. You know, that's why it took so long to catch these serial killers, because they were always just, you know, trying to, you know, thinking that it was one of us, when in reality it was just that nice businessman or the guy that ran the church or whatever, the, you know, the goody two shoes according to their eyes, right? That ended up being the serial killer and stuff, right? You know, especially when they catch one of these serial killers, right? I forgot which one it was, right? But he was a Caucasian, right? A short Caucasian, you know, older man, right? And when they had looked at, you know, the investigation, right? They had seen that all the people that they were arresting and interviewing and grilling and saying that this is their man, but it turned out to be not their man, were pure minorities, Mexicans, blacks, and it turned out to be this Caucasian older man. But they were so sure, you know, of it, you know, going in news press conferences and saying that it has to be, you know, one of these people. And it turned out to be, okay, so you were saying? You know what I mean? So white people do have it in that sense, right? But not to say that they don't have any battles or struggles or anything like that, right? But in society's eyes, they are viewed, you know, they are given the little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, or you know, they're going to go, you know, choose them before they choose any of the others, right? Just going based off of their skin color, right? Because of the narrative that has been painted for so long, for so long, right? But if, you know, if you're one of these people that grew up, you know, in middle class, or at least, you know, coming from the gutter, then you're like, what are these people talking about? What white privilege do I have? I don't have no white privilege. Yeah, I could see it why you see it from that angle, right? But even if you get the worst white person and you get the worst minority who have the worst situations against them, they're going to give the white one more of the benefit of the doubt than they are going to give the minorities, though. And it's been proven time after time after time again by the way this hierarchy and government and all that is run, even though they say that it's not true and there's no such thing as a, you know, an establishment like that. I mean, come on now, bro. But then all these investigations, you know, have been shown time after time again, even when it comes to, you know, that, you know, they weren't willing to give, like, let's say the housing markets, right? They weren't willing to sell to minorities, right? And they will make it more difficult for these minorities to own businesses. And you can't say that that's a lie, because it's already been proven that was true, that was occurring. And time after time again, the facts have been proven that, yeah, these people are not crazy. Yes, this was occurring. So it's kind of hard for you to, you know, or you can't blame people for viewing it this way when time after time and time again has been proven that that's what was going on. You know? You know, it's kind of hard to trust a guy who's been to prison for, when, let's say, something goes missing from your house. It's kind of hard to trust a guy who's been arrested 75 times for robbery or for being a thief. You can see why they would kind of suspect you, my boy. You can't be mad at them for looking at you that way when, I mean, time and time after again, you know? Can't blame them. And let's say it doesn't turn out to be you, then yeah, they'll apologize for it, you know? Will be the grown-up thing to do, but you also have to see, okay, I could understand why they seen it from that angle as well, you know? Because we got to be real when it comes to subject like this, you know? We got to be, you know, full-blown honest, you know why stuff is viewed, you know, the way it's viewed. So I see it from that extent, but not to say that, yeah, you don't get no opportunities or you can't become successful, because you could, you know what I mean? They're successful, you know, it's just more of a difficult battle, yes. And that's what they mean with white privilege. But overall, that is my perspective on the matter, that, yes, they are in the struggle with us. They do have their own battles, you know, that are just, some have it even worse than some of us, right? But in society's eyes, and, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to moving up the ladder, yes, they will choose you, even though your battles are a lot worse than ours. They will still choose you before they choose us, or look at you before they will look at us. But I'm just saying that those are my thoughts. But what do you guys think in the comments? Whether you agree, disagree, it's fine with that. You don't have to agree with me. We can agree to disagree. It's fine. Or, maybe, we could debate on comments and you might get me to see it from your perspective. I'm not arrogant or think that I'm a know-it-all. You know what I mean? I like to engage in conversation, but I'm just saying, Shadow, we out.